Redditors who grew up with shady criminal parents, what did your mom or dad teach you was okay to do that you later learned was illegal or seriously frowned upon? Serious. I have fond memories of hanging out in the shed with my parents, me playing with my dolls and them harvesting their money trees, weed strewn all over the floor, hanging from the ceiling, the leaves made into a little bed for my Barbie to sleep in. There were a lot of weird things I didn't think much of as a kid but realized were fricked up as an adult, like how our family moved 13 times in 15 years. I just assumed people got new houses all the time, and how sometimes I would go to the freezer for some ice cream and find stacks of cash in the containers. Just weird crap like that. My dad never said explicitly that what he was doing was acceptable, but he certainly didn't tell me that this was wrong. I'm between the ages of 5-7, unsure about a specific timeline on this, and my mom is often working in the evenings while my dad is sporadically around. One night, while my mom is gone, Dad gathers me to go for an adventure. Usually this means driving around the city and looking at stuff. Well, Dad pulls up to a hospital and parks. He sits with me in the car and gives me a script, saying that we recently moved here, a lie, and that he had hurt his back while moving boxes, mega lie. I play along because hey, it's my dad and sure, whatever he says goes. Any other specifics from that night are hazy. I think he managed to talk his way into some sort of painkiller prescription. This was in the early zeros, so opiates weren't as visible as now. My dad has been in successful treatment since then, but man, that's a big memory that stands out for how screwed up my younger life was. My dad's no serious criminal, but petty in every way, including the crime he commits. I was basically taught to play dumb, act like you belong, and you can do whatever you want. We snuck into VIP lounges, other people's buffets and parties at restaurants and events. He once lied to a ticketer at a movie theater and got mad when they couldn't find the tickets he ordered online. He had not ordered tickets, but there was a huge line and he didn't want to wait. We got in for free and cut a huge line. Also cut lines at Disney Worlds and other sorts of places. Backstory: my bio dad was convicted of murder, got away with another murder through claiming self-defense, no clue if it was truly self-defense, and apparently had a third murder that he never got caught for. He would steal constantly from people to things inside stores. One of my earliest memories is wanting this super cute pink hat. I believe I was around 8. He put it on my head and told me to walk to the car. I remember asking about paying and he said don't worry, just walk. So, little me walks to the outside doors with her heart pounding, and then the alarm goes off. I freeze and run back to my dad that was still shopping. First lesson I can remember I learned, you just need to keep walking when those alarms go off. I used to be told everything was okay as long as you don't get caught. They kind of said it like a throwaway phrase, but I really took it to heart. It gave me a real lack of respect for any authority at all and made it seem more like a game than real life consequences. I would do illegal crap just to get the rush of wondering and whether or not I'd be caught. Once I was caught, I would just shrug and act like their winning didn't bother me. Kinda like their punishment was just them gloating about me getting caught. My sister. She's 18 years older than me, so my mom would occasionally leave me with her, sometimes for the day, a couple times for 5 days. 1. Her boyfriend, pimp, coming over, and then strange guys coming and going. I was like, what are they doing in there? 2. Driving to her drug dealer's RV in a trailer park. She left me and my niece outside while she fricked him for dope. Again, what are they doing in there? 3. Waking up to all kinds of weird people in the dining room doing drugs out in the open at 8 AM. 4. Driving severely impaired with 2 kids in the car. 5. She would sleep all day. My niece and I would wake up. She was 5, I was 12, and there would be almost no food in the house, so I had to scrounge. I'm talking potted meat or moldy bread, baked beans for breakfast. She also let both of her ex-husbands touch my niece. She was so negligent, I'm shocked that we didn't have worse crap happen. My dad was a mechanic. The ones that stick out was when he would charge for a new replacement part and then go to the local junkyard and get the part from there. If the customer asked up front, he would be honest and offer the 2 options. Junkyard part equals cheap but likely reliable, or new equals expensive and only parts warranty. If they didn't ask, most of the time it was a junkyard part. Rarely got in trouble or called out since his prices were a fraction of regular shops. Oh, I guess the other main shady part was that he wasn't a legit certified mechanic and most business was cash under the table. His apprentice is now my mechanic and he learned from my dad's mistakes. He provides receipts, boxes, and shows me where he installed the new part, and it's always shiny and new, minus obvious grease handling installation marks. My family did a lot of petty, trashy crime, shoplifting, theft, domestic assault, drugs, etc. I thought it was normal for adults to just kinda go to jail every few years for a day or two until I was 10. Now, my stepdad is out of my life, my mom is too old ill to do anything particularly bad, and my dad may have helped finance a district attorney's election, which has saved him mountains in legal fees for himself and the he frequents. My dad did a lot of petty crime as I was growing up because we were lower middle class, hard on money, and he was cheap. Biggest thing that comes to mind was us living near a Christmas tree farm out in the country. There's a little trail that leads through the reforestation in front of my house to the tree farm. So for a few years we stole our Christmas tree from there. We would go one day during the day for a walk and tag one of the trees that we wanted, and then that night we'd come with flashlights, cut it down and drag it through the trail to our house. Dad didn't want to spend $30 on a tree from Home Depot. He also broke into my mom's dad's house when I was young to look for money he apparently kept in a tin can hidden. Never found it, but when I was young my parents told my brother and I that he was looking for my nanny's wedding band. My mother was pretty shady. She was a opioid and benzo addict who took me doctor shopping from place to place looking for prescriptions. She faked seizures and had a rolling list of medical complaints. I don't know if she believed all of her illnesses were real, but she sure acted like she did around us and medical staff. She taught me that it was okay to manipulate doctors, but somehow I grew up to be exactly the opposite, and that I feel embarrassed and guilty seeking medical care even for a legitimate complaint. Shoplifting for the most part. I mean, like she never made us do it, but she didn't hide what she was doing either. She's the reason model homes have cameras now. A family friend was in the import-export business for gemstones. I didn't realize it could be illegal to transport gems across borders. We would have gem parties where a dining table that can sit 12 would be completely covered in bowls of gems and jewelry to buy. Same as Tupperware parties, but for gems. Some stones my parents got appraised shocked their jeweler. Super rare colors of different stones that they had never seen before. That friend has gone legit. Owned some mines in Africa now. My dad was a tow truck driver and he would always bring me little presents as a kid that he got out of people's tower cars. As far as I knew, if someone knew their car was going to get towed, they took everything they wanted out of it and the rest was fair game. My stepmom worked in the drug treatment field. How it works is if clients stayed in rehab for a certain amount of time, the person who got them in there would get paid. My stepmom had a good heart at first, she really did. However, 80% of her clients were back on the H before the week was over, so my stepmom would take her throwaway clients, give them drugs while they're in rehab for however long, so by the time my stepmom got paid, they would be back on the streets doing the same crap as usual. She was paying them and dope to stay in rehab. The only reason I know this is because I got snoopy and looked through my stepmom's phone when she let me use it when I needed to call somebody while my phone was broke. I eventually built up the courage to confront her about it, as she said she didn't do this with all of her clients. Some really wanted to get help and she did help them, and that is true. However, there was no justification for it. It escalated into a heated argument that led to me storming out of the house. She would say things such as, "This is how the electricity stays on." However, after a very meaningful talk, and she doesn't work in the drug field anymore, I truly do believe she feels bad, as she should. We decided to not tell anyone else in the family, mainly because my family is full of ex-drug addicts and it would literally tear our family apart. While my dad was never a criminal unless you count the one time he was wanted all over the US because he forgot to convert CAD into USD when paying a ticket. Warrant expired, I think, on terms he had been a good boy since it, so he tells me. He had fun in his past. A few things he taught me were, if you ever get in a conflict, try to walk away. If you can't, Run. If you still are unable to get away, turn around and beat them until they go down. Tell them to stay down, and if they try to get up, beat them down again. Repeat as necessary. Allowed to drink and do drugs all I wanted on the condition I ask him. He would find me clean stuff. Taught me that if I ever got grabbed, shove my fingers into a guy's eyes and pop them like grapes. Taught me how to street fight, i.e. the one who stands up and walks away wins. Have confidence, commit to the con, and act like you belong. Scary how effective this is. Admit nothing, deny everything, demand proof. My parents grew weed. I helped out in the grow room from age 4. We live in the UK so it's illegal here, but it's always just been a part of everyday life, and I've been around so much of it for so long that I forget it's even illegal. My mom and dad are trained artists and teachers, and they would frequently counterfeit things like parking permits, coupons, doctor's notes, etc. It was wild. I had the opposite experience than most of these comments. My dad spent a significant portion of my childhood in prison. He got pretty paranoid about me one day having the potential of being the victim of a violent crime. Because of this I had ridiculous rules to follow because he knew what the real world was like. I wasn't allowed to use ATMs or rest stops that aren't gas stations that have an attendant or clerk ever, but especially at night. Any car I drive has to have a fully stocked functioning emergency kit with flare guns. I must carry pepper spray and brass knuckles with me at all times and few others, but you get the gist. It was like being locked up with violent offenders made him realize that the world I was growing up in was fairly dangerous, and he panicked. Stealing, especially from construction sites, condoning physical assault, and in some cases murder. Blow into breathalyzers so they could drive. My parents used to run guns down to Mexico, about 2,000 a week. Every weekend we would drive there and get back for school on Monday. My dad stole a few things in a sneaky way so my brother and I would have one each. In one instance, for example, he bought a Game Boy game. He brought it back to the car, removed the cartridge, and took it back into the store saying the case was empty. He did the same thing with those Pikachu Tamagotchi things. I think his biggest steal was a PlayStation 2. He actually did purchase one. My mum went in and picked it up, but when leaving the store, the door person didn't tear the receipt. So, my dad took the receipt back in, picked up another PS2, stuck the receipt on it and walked out. The door person tore the receipt this time but obviously didn't pay attention to the time of sale. Dad also ran a huge business of installing chips in PlayStations so they could play copied games. He would rent games, burn a copy, then sell copies to other people. We had a whole library and catalog of copied games, and Dad had quite a few customers. Looking back I see how dodgy it was and why he told me not to tell too many people about it. Panhandle. I thought all kids' parents did this. Borrowing money from your kids. My mom would reward me for cleaning, then when she get low would ask me to borrow money for mommy's medication. Beer. So both sides of my family is super poor, but my parents decided they were going to buy a house, which led to me being left around my nan house a lot. Nan and my auntie live together. Nan is the glue for the family, but auntie is a rage addict. This funded by a lot of petty theft. I'm quite good at distraction and sleight of hand. Not the magician stuff, but make a scene and your accomplice will nick a few things. My parents dealt drugs when I was a kid. I was heavily sexually abused as well. I learned that both weren't normal around 2nd or 3rd grade. I have very few memories of my childhood because of the crap that went down that they did. They never got arrested for either. Social workers thought I was lying when I reach out for help, even through high school. My parents appeared very charming to everyone and acted like it was me with the issues, and how difficult it was to have someone who lied over such huge things. Suckers. My parents trained and raced horses on a small circuit that followed all the country fairs and carnivals in our area. Half of every year we lived and traveled with the shadiest group of gambling addicted, drunken cheats and liars. My parents were no better than any of them. I learned that winning wasn't a big deal. It was getting paid that mattered. Cheating was just what you did. Any information you had you used to your advantage, no matter who suffered because of it. Fair play was for suckers. And above all else, bet on every race, every day, every season. Everyone had that gleam in their eye, the gambler's look. Today, I don't even play the lotto or buy raffle tickets or have even set foot in a casino. I detest gambling and gamblers. Can't stand any of it. Weed. Both my parents smoked it all the time, even grew it at home. The smell of it kinda felt like home to me. I only realized there was something wrong with it when I was playing hide and seek with a friend and my dad told me not to let her see the grow room. It was normal for people in my family to be in and out of jail. It was normal for most of my family to have some sort of criminal record. We were always taught to not respect cops. For example, when my dad found weed in my 16-year-old sister's car, instead of reprimanding her for having it, he reprimanded her for how easy it would be for cops to find. We were always watching mob movies and my dad would just gush about how classy and cool they were. It's just little stuff like that mostly, nothing like outrageous. Pretending to be poor to get free stuff. My mom would lie about income so I could get free meals at school. She lied about my dad's income to get more child support, which I didn't get. I just thought that she was doing her best to provide when in reality she was very selfish and wanted everyone else to pay her way. All I really learned was that drugs were above all else, including us kids. My dad was investigated by the FBI for racketeering but they were unable to press charges on him. He was also sued by a major financial entity for racketeering as well. Anyways, when I was a teenager, my dad had a lawsuit brought against him by multiple employees for unpaid overtime and he ordered me to go through the boxes upstairs in a warehouse that we had to find all of their time cards. The storage area was a disaster. Papers everywhere. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find them so I told my dad that it was no use. The time cards weren't there. My dad then yelled at me, telling me that he needed those time cards and said that all of these people were trying to rip him off so, if I had to, just make up time cards for them so that they were working 40 hours a week with no overtime but don't bother telling him about what I did to get the time cards when I had them. I just had to have them for him one way or the other. I didn't think much about the last bit until much later but, long story short, I ended up making time cards that he used for the case. He won. Realized several years later that my dad had used me for forgery and when I confronted him about it, he just laughed and said that I was a minor at the time and nobody puts a minor in jail for a white collar crime. I've run into some of those employees since then and, when they accosted me for being his daughter and how they would want to punch my dad, or worse, if it was him they ran into, I've always confessed this to them. Ironically enough, they have all said that they would punch him on my behalf, too, because the fact that he used his own daughter peed them off even more. And about the racketeering thing, he loved laughing about that and calling himself a don. When I was going to take over the business several years later after the forgery bit, his oldest employees gave me loyalty oaths. I ran like heck. My dad absolutely was a racketeer. You have been visited by the cute papa of charisma and flirting. Smooth talking and successful flirts will come to you, but only if you comment, "Hey there, papa," below this picture. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.